Who was here first? Debunking Theories About Ancient Civilizations in the Americas, by Christopher Turner, Heritage Weekly founder and editor-in-chief. Photo by British Library on Unsplash. But first, a word from our sponsors. Jacob's Trouble, Birth of a King. The highly anticipated continuation of the Jacob's Trouble series is now available for pre-order on Amazon. Dive into apocalyptic judgment, the restoration of Zion, and the rise of the millennial kingdom. Christopher Turner masterfully explores scripture and prophecy, unveiling Yahweh's role in the destiny of the true Israelite nation. Pre-order your copy today on Amazon. The Freedom Articles, coming soon. The Freedom Articles is a powerful collection of essays exposing false doctrines, reclaiming Israelite heritage, and revealing the unbreakable truths of Scripture. Prepare for a transformative journey into Yahweh's covenantal promises and their prophetic fulfillment. Stay tuned for the release date and updates at Heritage Weekly. Support these works and uncover the truth. Claim your copies today. Now back to history. Who was here first? Debunking Theories About Ancient Civilizations in the Americas. The Americas have always fascinated historians and archaeologists as the home of complex and advanced civilizations like the Olmec, Maya, and Aztec. But some argue that the story of these lands holds more secrets than history books admit. One controversial theory suggests that civilizations such as ancient Egypt or Israel weren't in the so-called Middle East but originated in the Americas. This article dives into these claims, distinguishing speculative theories from historical facts while acknowledging intriguing possibilities like the Israelite migration to the Americas after the Persian captivity. Point 1. The Egypt in America claim lacks evidence. A small but vocal group argues that ancient Egypt was actually located in the Americas. Proponents of this theory cite supposed geographical similarities or cultural parallels between the two regions. However, this idea is directly contradicted by abundant archaeological, linguistic, and historical evidence. Egyptian pyramids, hieroglyphs, and artifacts have been found exclusively in the Middle East, with no comparable discoveries in the Americas. Ancient Egyptian civilization developed along the Nile River, whose ecology and historical context are central to understanding its rise. While it's compelling to imagine a transcontinental origin story, such claims fail under scrutiny because they ignore the physical and cultural records left behind. Point 2. Which civilization came first is the wrong question. When discussing which civilization was first or most advanced, it's important to recognize that civilizations often developed independently and concurrently across the globe. Mesopotamia is generally regarded as the cradle of civilization, with cities and organized agriculture emerging around 3100 BCE. Meanwhile, Mesoamerican civilizations like the Olmec didn't begin thriving until around 1500s BCE. Although there's a gap of over a millennium, it's important not to reduce civilizations to a race of who was first. Each culture was shaped by its environment and contributed uniquely to the human story. For example, Mesopotamia developed early forms of writing, while the Olmec laid the foundations for Mesoamerican art, architecture, and astronomy. These were different cultures, responsible for different contributions, and comparing them as if they're competing erases their individual significance. Point 3. The plausibility of Israelite migration to the Americas. Among the more nuanced theories is the idea that the northern tribes of Israel migrated to the Americas after the Persian captivity around 536 BCE. This theory is rooted in interpretations of 2 Esdras 13:40-45, which describes the tribes traveling to a distant land called Arzareth to observe their laws in peace. While speculative, this theory doesn't rewrite ancient geography, but suggests that migrations could have brought Israelites to the Americas, where they influenced indigenous groups. Some researchers point to cultural similarities between the Seminole and Israelite traditions, or suggest connections between tribes in Mexico and Issachar. Practices like ceremonial law, tribal organization, and dietary restrictions are intriguing parallels, but these connections remain circumstantial without direct archaeological evidence. The strength of this theory lies in its plausibility. Human migration across vast distances is well documented, but it requires further evidence to transition from speculation to a historical fact. Point 4. Historical and archaeological records matter. The issue with many speculative theories is that they rely on fragmented interpretations of texts or cultural parallels without the support of archaeological evidence or ancient written records. For example, claims about Egypt or Israel originating in the Americas often hinge on vague screenshots of outdated books or disconnected observations. Archaeology reveals a clear picture. Ancient Egyptian civilization thrived in the Nile Valley, Mesopotamian cities rose between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and Mesoamerican cultures independently developed their own rich histories. While it's important to question narratives, especially Eurocentric ones, evidence must guide conclusions. Point 5. Different origins, shared legacies. The diversity of ancient civilizations reflects the incredible adaptability and creativity of humans in different environments. Mesopotamia gave us early forms of government and writing. Egypt's legacy includes monumental architecture and a rich spiritual tradition. The Olmec influenced the entire Mesoamerican cultural sphere. It's worth exploring possibilities like the migration of Israelites to the Americas, as this theory doesn't contradict existing archaeological evidence. Instead, it complements the idea that human movement has always been dynamic, and that the connections between ancient peoples may be richer than we currently understand. Conclusion: respect the facts, explore the possibilities. The idea that ancient Egypt or Israel originated in the Americas is unsupported by evidence, but the theory of Israelite migration to the Americas offers a fascinating avenue for exploration. It remains speculative yet plausible, requiring further investigation into both cultural similarities and archaeological records. Rather than reducing ancient civilizations to a competition of who was first, it's better to appreciate their unique contributions and recognize the complexity of their histories. After all, the story of human civilization isn't a single chapter, it's a library, filled with overlapping and independent narratives that continue to shape our understanding today. By Christopher Turner, Heritage Weekly founder and editor-in-chief, expert theologist specializing in Israelite heritage and covenant theology, biblical scholar and cultural historian focusing on ancient scriptures and the lost tribes of Israel. Author of Rediscovering Israel, a comprehensive study of covenantal promises and the scattered tribes. Author of Jacob's Trouble, the Birth of a King, an exploration of apocalyptic judgment and the restoration. Author of the Freedom Articles, Exposing Pagan Lies, Restoring Israel's Hidden Heritage, and Reclaiming True Scriptural Power, an in-depth examination of scriptural truths and Israelite restoration. Contributor to theological journals, Insights on Hebrew Texts, Prophecy and New Testament Context. Public speaker discussing Israelite identity, prophecy and scriptural truth in the modern age. Covenant theology researcher unveiling the promises made to Israel and their fulfillment.